All right, Chris. We're a Marvel and Star Wars Hot Toys podcast. I think one of my favorite scenes in the MCU is in the first Avengers film, and Tony Stark is facing down with Loki and saying how great of a team the Avengers are, and he leads it off with, "Well, we've got a Hulk. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but you've got a Hulk now."
I
And not
do
only
have a Hulk, yes.
And not only do we have a Hulk, we have a website, Chris. We have a website now. That's really what I wanted to get to with my cold intro here. We finally have a home for Six Scale Scavengers, sixscalescavengers.com. We've been kind of hanging out with the Brick City Blockade guys. We've had our checklist there for some time. We're still part of their podcast network, but it just made sense for finding a dedicated home for not only the podcast, and the website's very much in the early stages. We'll be adding more posts, and as new figure releases and news stuff, we'll have those up. We obviously moved our checklists over there. Chris, it feels good to have a home for it now.
I love it, man. You did a great job getting the website set up, very user friendly, and it's looking good. The first stages, baby steps here with the website, and yeah, it feels great. We got our checklists over there. We got links to the podcast and Instagram and Twitter and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do with the site.
So we also had another big milestone for us. I mean, everybody knows we're a little podcast here. We're a niche focus on, two particular movie franchise lines with the MCU and Star Wars. But Chris, we topped 500 downloads about a week and a half or so ago. It was after our last episode, and I don't know, something significant about 500. I know we just had MMS 500 drop not that long ago with the Mark 7 from Avengers, and I don't know, 500 just seems like a pretty cool number to celebrate.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, it's surprising. We are very, you say, niche, our theme here for the podcast, but it feels good. 500 downloads. That means people are listening, and we're growing, and it keeps creeping up every day. And it just feels good that people are chiming in and giving us a chance.
So we want to also thank for all the reviews and stuff. I know we had a little contest on our private Facebook group, Six Scale Scavenger Collectors, because we now have a traditional Facebook page now, because it also seemed like what the cool kids are doing now. And we had a mini contest on there. We were able to send out a couple stickers to a few of our listeners, so just as a small thank you for helping us out, and excited to see some of that merch out in the interwebs and on social media.
Oh yeah, we got the 6 scale swag, going on. Another thing that is going to be ever developing, coming up with different logos.
Well, they've got a vintage logo now because we just updated the logo too.
I know. Right?
We got to thank our good buddy Robin Vogt for giving us our first logo there, and I was able to kind of meander my way through something, and it looks all right. It's not too bad. But anyways, so Chris, speaking of that Facebook group, we're always looking for ideas. It's a great community. It's growing. It's up to 32 people now, and one of our listeners, Justin, had posed something to both you and I, and not only is it that this community can interact with both Chris and myself, and we say it all the time, we're not experts. We just really enjoy this line. And it's just fun seeing all the other collectors kind of coming together and creating this really cool community that I didn't honestly think was going to happen as a result of this. It's just this byproduct thing that's happened. It's organic, and it's really cool. But Justin had posed the question to both you and I, and we thought, hey, let's just briefly talk about it on the podcast. He said, what other line or current figure could we be tempted outside of Marvel or Star Wars? I know my answer.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I got a two-part answer, but what do you got?
I mean, I'm a big fan of pop culture. There's a lot of other lines out there from Hot Toys that I like, but honestly, I don't have quite the passion for some of those movie franchises. I would say Back to the Future is right up there for
Yes.
me.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. But for me, one of the other series that I really love, I know I'm a little bit older for the target audience, but I'm a big, huge Harry Potter fan.
Yes.
So,
I knew we were friends
yeah,
for a reason.
yes, exactly. And I just did the marathon of watching the movies over the past month and gearing up for Fantastic Beasts 2, which actually comes out on my birthday. So that's kind of cool. We got a tease on some potential Fantastic Beast figures coming from Hot Toys. So I think that if I'm to dip my toes into the waters of another line, it's probably going to be in that Harry Potter realm. The tease figures look pretty amazing of Grindelwald and I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden.
Newt, is
Yeah,
that Newt Scamander?
yeah, new Scamander. I apologize, but yeah, yeah. So what about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, the same too. I mean, it's Back to the Future. I love that trilogy. I would love if I wanted to break the bank and if I had a spot, I'd love to have the DeLorean. That's just that would be maybe a white whale eventually. But again, it's Harry Potter, and like you said, we got that sneak preview of those two figures. Now, Star Race is the one that does all the other Harry Potter lines, so we don't know if Hot Toys has just acquired rights for this particular movie, or if J.K. Rowling came and said, "Okay, I really like what you guys are doing. Let's do a deal here." I mean, 8 films in the original Harry Potter line. There's now going to be 2 films in the Fantastic Beasts line, movie line here, and the possibilities are endless. I mean, how many different variations of we joke all the time, like how many Captain Americas or Luke Skywalkers can you have? Quite a few Harry Potters, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley. I think that would be pretty cool. I'll say I might make an exception to say we would make this a trilogy podcast and bring in Harry Potter as well.
Yeah, like you said, the possibilities are endless. You could have figures from each movie. A figure of Voldemort would be pretty awesome. Hagrid, would be right up there. It's cool to think about it. I know Hot Toys is really, they're limited into how much they can produce and what movie lines they can produce from. They got to get the license and all that stuff. But it's fun to think about, and I guess we'll see what happens with those two figures. Because even in the between the first movie and now the second movie, again, lots of great, interesting characters and designs and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it actually.
All right, Chris, let's get to some other news related to Star Wars and Marvel. We have a lot more early releases, and I think before we even start talking about any of these other figures and stuff, there's been a lot of speculation in the collecting community, Chris, about why we're getting this massive flux of all these Marvel figures, and some of them are coming 3, 4, 5 months early. It's certainly wreaking havoc on those of us that were using those release dates as kind of as budgeting benchmarks. And there's a lot of speculation on why is that the case. I think the most prevalent one right now is Hot Toys is trying to pump out all these figures, get them out before we see a trailer for Avengers 4. To me, that's hogwash. If you like these figures, if you love Infinity War like we both do, you're going to get them regardless, not necessarily going to hold off to say, "Ooh, I like how Cap looks better in Avengers 4." And of that ilk. But I know you've got an interesting theory on why that might be the case.
Yeah, there's some rumors going about with potentially Hot Toys getting maybe some pressure from Sideshow to get them the product roughly the same time as they get the product from Secret Base or, at Secret Base. Just because what happens is all those retailers that are in that area in Hong Kong, they buy up the stock in at Secret Base, and then they can put the product out on eBay and other outlets right away. So then a lot of YouTube reviewers will they'll buy their product from these other Asian retailers, and it kind of, I think, it's leaving a lot of potential sales from Sideshow, leaving them on the table because people are buying up the stock elsewhere. And then Sideshow's like, hey, what about us? We've got this deal. But I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, I mean, nothing's confirmed, but it's kind of a theory as to why we're getting the stuff early. Sideshow says, hey, get us that merchandise, roughly the same time, within a week or two of getting the stock at Secret Base. And that way we're not losing our sales to these other retailers. But we'll see how it goes. Again, like you said, that other theory about trying to get all the product out before Avengers 4, who knows? It's kind of hearsay and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think the only two figures that kind of come to mind on the Marvel stuff that's been out, at least for a little bit, and it hasn't quite been made available yet, is the concept art Cap, and most recently, although as of the time of recording, it looks like we might get a fairly quick release on this as well, but the Mark 46 concept art as well. Most of the other things that have been out are now, they're kind of coming up pretty quick. And I know that both you and I, a lot of people, our listeners, other people in the collecting community have kind of had to, shuffle, budgets around and plans around. And some of the figures coming significantly early, like Iron Spider, that was projected to be April, and now it's going to be like potentially December or January that we're going to get this figure. And man, I'm excited about that one. That was one of the ones I had, moved up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's it does not stink, my friend, to be a hot toy collector right now.
It certainly does not. So, I mean, they're coming at us fast and furious. It's just like every week. I mean, we're getting updates on figures coming early and figures processing, ready to ship. And it's crazy. I mean, we recorded a couple weeks ago, and I didn't think we were going to have, this much news to talk about just in that 2-week span. It's good. It's a good thing. It's
we did
think for our bank accounts.
Yeah. So we do have a new figure to talk about, but I want to talk about some of the other ones that are coming up early. Chris, I know you're very in tune with this one. I feel like we've mentioned it before, but Loki is released in Hong Kong. It is coming this month from Sideshow. In hand, to me, in my opinion, it looks fantastic. I know a lot of people have some concerns about, the head sculpt. And again, we're not experts. And I think anything can look distorted depending on how close you hold the camera to it or what the lighting is and stuff like that. We're going to say it once, we're going to say it again. If it's a character that you like and enjoy, you're probably going to get it anyways. These armchair reviewers and sitting on the sidelines waiting to last second to make a decision or not. We'll talk about it again too. You don't want to have regrets either. So if it's just something you want, just go for it. Don't necessarily wait for somebody to tell you if it's good or not. You make that decision yourself.
I'm looking forward to this one big time. The in-hand pictures of this guy is make me want it really bad right now. I'm hoping, I haven't gotten word yet on processing, but I did get notification from Sideshow saying that it's coming this month.
So we talked about Iron Spider. We both got the email today, and it looks like, again, the last couple episodes we've kind of done some speculating on, depending on maybe when the pre-orders are done, and maybe if there's some sort of a line or a queue that you're in. I know for a fact we got to put this on a t-shirt for us at some point, but day one pre-order, this Captain America concept art was both a day one pre-order for both of us, and we both got the email to say, hey, it was going to come in November. It's going to be available on November 8th. Do you want to pay it early, your last payment early, so you get it? I couldn't have clicked yes fast enough. This is one that we may actually have in hand for, our next episode. And just when we talk about a collecting update, we're going to have a lot of stuff to review. We may have to reconsider our release schedule of, essentially 2 episodes per month to start squeezing some of these really cool figures in.
Seriously, we got so much coming our way. Lots to talk about.
Let's see what else before we kind of talk about the lone figure we got. Chris, you had found some information about Hot Toys opening up another store in Hong Kong called Rebel Base. What do you got for info on that?
They decided to, I mean, Secret Base is a big success. They get a lot of traffic in there. Not too, I don't think it's too far away from the other one, but I don't know my geography too well. Our buddy Ryan over in Hong Kong, I'm sure knows it better. He frequents Secret Base. But yeah, Rebel Base, they had a grand opening, and it just so happened that the Iron Man, the concept art Iron Man, that's Mark 46. Is that, no, which, yep. Yeah.
Mark 46.
So they had that as a grand opening exclusive, which is pretty cool. And then it was also shared with the Shanghai Comic-Con as an exclusive. I think it was last weekend or whatever. They had the Comic-Con in Shanghai, big, huge event. Hot Toys hitting all the cons. Nothing displayed that we hadn't seen before for the 6 scale, but it was still nice to see them there. I wish Hot Toys would come to Boston Comic-Con maybe next year. We can hope. Yeah, looked like a lot of people had fun there. So if you're ever in the Hong Kong area, check out the new store and let us know how it goes.
Sounds great. All right, so the one pre-order, and this was a day one pre-order, was R2-D2 Deluxe. Went up for pre-order, I believe at the end of last week. This was something that got teased, I believe, at San Diego Comic-Con. And it was funny, Chris, because I never really... It was the first figure that I had put a RSVP in on the Sideshow website. If you go to there's like a coming soon thing, and you can see all the things that they've teased, and you can put in your email address and get notified as soon as something goes up. And I knew that it was going to be releasing that day from frequenting the Hot Toys main site. One of my first things that I do every morning, just seeing if we're going to get anything new that day or not. Seeing that was released, and looks great. It's going to be MMS 511, so it's sequentially right after some of the other ones we've been talking about recently. Going to retail for $243. A little on the high side, a little bit more than the Force Awakens R2 was. Way more accessories, in my opinion. This one's going to come July through September 2019. So late Q3, early Q4, 2019 release. This, as I mentioned, this is the second R2-D2 figure that Hot Toys has done. The original one, as I mentioned, was from The Force Awakens when he was kind of rusty, hadn't been used, kind of in low power mode. And this one is the deluxe version. I put it on our checklist, Chris, as being a New Hope, but really what it is, it's kind of like almost all of the original trilogy. It's got the... some of the stuff from when he's on Dagobah with Luke for Empire Strikes Back. He has what I'm probably going to display mine with is being able to shoot up Luke's new lightsaber on Jabba's sail barge. There's that. There's plenty of accessories with this one, and I'm a huge R2-D2 fan. I've already got the Force Awakens one, but I don't care. I need another R2.
Why not? You can never go wrong with more R2 units. I mean, I love this. I love this figure. It just looks like it's got every gadget that you could think of. I'm looking at the pictures now. He's got the Holo Leia from A New Hope. He's got the sensor scope. He's got the little device he uses for the Endor bunker. I love it. I can't wait for you to get this, to check it out. But yeah, it's a great release. You can really set this guy up in so many different scenes that I think Hot Toys nailed it as far as the versatility with the figure.
And one thing too, I failed to mention too, this is going to be the 103rd Star Wars release, and we're approaching near 200 for Marvel, so you can see that they're about halfway behind where Marvel is. They'll probably never catch them. They did have a tease. They had a silver foot of C-3PO in one of those images, so it makes me think that we're going to get a C-3PO New Hope version at some point. Now C-3PO, depending on the movie, he's always got like one little thing different with him, so you can usually identify what film it is. Personally, myself, I'm not a big fan of C-3PO. He has, his place. I realize that he's an iconic figure in Star Wars. He's never been a favorite character of mine, so that's probably not one I'll get to put them two together. I mean, it probably sounds sacrilegious to say that, but I think it does bode well for other Star Wars collectors that do like our C3PO, that they may be able to have the combination of them two in their collection.
Yeah, it's nice to see those little teases of what could be coming soon.
All right, that's the news. As you and I were preparing our notes for this episode over the last week or so, we're thinking it wasn't going to be too heavy with news, and I think this has quite the bit going on. And again, we'll mention it. Those early releases for Marvel are coming, and they're coming for our budget dollars. I think before we get into our topic, how far are we into the episode here? I haven't even given the agenda for what the show is. So obviously, we're going to go over news. We're going to go over our collection update. Our topic for today, we're going to be talking about a review of Spooktacular 2018 from Sideshow, and review/look. This episode is going to be K2SO MMS 406 from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Looking forward to that one. I know we have a few people in our collector group that are big K2SO fans, and looking forward to talking about that one. So, Chris, we teased it a little bit ago. Our collection update is rather exciting this time around, I think.
Just a few things. Just a few. With all that was going on with Spooktacular and that sort of thing, I didn't necessarily think that I was going to be adding stuff, but those notorious eBay coupons, one of them popped up. So it was a 10% off coupon, which is not, it's good. It's not the greatest, but yeah, it was 10%, right?
10% is better than 0%.
Yeah. And I had a few figures that I've been looking around for, and I happened to find one particular figure that I really wanted, but the prices have been pretty high. And I found Age of Ultron Deluxe Hulk MMS 287. Now, he had it listed as used, but I just got it in the mail today, and it's not, there's nothing on this thing that says that it's been displayed. I actually got this one after, so it was a buy it now or make an offer sale with free shipping. And after going back and forth with him several times, we finally agreed on a price. And then with a 10% off discount, I ended up getting this guy for $285 out of pocket. So shipped and everything. So I figured that's pretty good comparatively with recent sold listings on eBay. I mean, this is the deluxe. He's got that extra body and everything. I opened that thing up, man. I think I'm in love.
Well, I can't believe you got it like nearly $100 less than retail.
Yeah.
According to our checklist, that one, the MMS 287 was originally for $374.99.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a great figure. I just didn't realize, like, I've seen it in some of our listeners' collections that they've shared with us, but I didn't realize how huge that thing is. I sent you a picture of a 3 3/4 inch K2SO up against the box, and it, like, you can barely even see the figure. It's so huge. But yeah, I'm loving that figure. So that's my big addition, in-hand addition. So I kind of went a different route with a couple other purchases. I also used my eBay coupon on these as well. So when you get the coupon, you can use it on multiple purchases, and you got to put that into your cart, and then you can just pay for it all at once, and the coupon is applied to everything. So I was actually bidding on these two figures, and they just so happened to be ending that day. So I picked up Sideshow Endor Rebel Commando Pathfinder and the Rebel Commando Infantryman.
Get out of
And
here. Those on Hot Toys.
I know.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I know.
You know what? When we make the rules of the podcast, we can also break them whenever the heck we feel like it.
I know, it's funny. We have a lot of listeners that are like, how, you sure you don't want to talk about like Sideshow or other 6 scale? It's like, well, we kind of just talk about what we have in our own collections, but we're not against mentioning things here and there. So for my other focus, I've mentioned it before. I'm a big vintage Kenner Rebel Commando collector from Endor. And so I kind of felt like these guys fit into that focus. And there's still one other from these commandos. There's a Sergeant, which is an exclusive. So I need to find one of those. But, I like them. They look pretty good in hand. They definitely don't have the fit and finish of Hot Toys. The head sculpts are just not quite, they're not quite there, but they should display well. And who knows, maybe I'll go down the Star Wars rabbit hole at some point and start adding to that collection, fill out a display. But I'm just
you can save a shelf on one of your, if you get a DTOF, you can have one shelf for that. Nothing wrong with that.
No. I mean, we'll see, but I'm liking them. So those are the couple things I got in hand. Anything for you?
Yeah. So again, I feel like Spooktacular just kind of, I know I've been not necessarily to say I'm risk averse, but I was definitely kind of holding things in reserve with some budget dollars and whatnot, because knowing what we've been teased and what was coming up and some of these early releases and stuff. So I've been kind of cautious about it. I mentioned it last episode where I'm doing like a lot of window shopping, and I've done a lot, I wouldn't say necessarily soul searching, but really trying to figure out not only what I want my collection to be today, but then also going forward. And one thing I said on one of our prior episodes, and just talking about the MCU, talking about Chris Evans, talking about Robert Downey Jr., and having them be like our Captain America and our Iron Man, like those films have been, so over the last 10 years have been, there was a time right around like Doctor Strange and stuff came out, I kind of veered away from the MCU just because I was like, God, there's so many movies out there. But going back and rewatching some of those early ones, it hit home for me, like how much those kind of mean to me as a fan and of nerddom. So long story short here, Chris, I kind of decided that I wanted to have a little bit of an Iron Man focus in my collection. And after having decided that, I was also a little upset with myself from having parted with my Mark 47 a little bit ago. So that's a story for another day. But I happen to be on, there's a lot of great groups out there. Obviously, one of our favorites is Tashi Station, 1/6 to Full Scale Collectibles. John Martino, who's actually in our group. He's a great guy, runs a great ship over there. There's another one, 1/6 Society, and they have a buy-sell trade group. And just happened to look one night there, and I happened to see that somebody had a Mark III Iron Man for a pretty reasonable price on for sale. And again, going back and forth with them, and kind of came to a deal that I felt was good. And I feel like with Iron Man, obviously the Mark 47 is just out of this world, so pricey right now. But I feel like if you can get one for less than $100 over original retail for some of these figures that have been out for a little bit, to me, it's a pretty good deal. So I actually have that one in hand. I have that one next to my Mark 6 right now. Fantastic figure. I think it came out in 2000. I told you this. You had asked me, was it 2014 or 2015?
I think it was 2014, actually.
Yeah. So, it's aged pretty well in those 4 years. I feel like the die-cast figures of the most recent Iron Mans have gotten a little bit better. Some of like the waist articulation and stuff has gotten better. But I think for, again, talking about those iconic films, Iron Man, the first film in the MCU, I'm super excited to have that in my collection. It didn't stop there, Chris. I've been holding back so long with some of these pre-orders, and I finally was like, all right, I gotta do some things. And I think finally people having the Thor Infinity War figure in hand, it finally did it for me. I know PJ, who's in our group. He has a great YouTube channel, The Paradox Nerd, and he had a good review of that. Check that out if you have not yet. Subscribe to his channel. And, just seeing that and a lot of the in-hand photos, I just was like, yeah, this literally, most of the reviews said the same thing, and I can't wait to have this in hand in a couple days. It looks like the ultimate Thor. So if you're going to own one, most everybody said the same thing. It's like, if you're going to own one Thor, this is the Thor. So you already had this on pre-order. I was like, you know what? Damn it. I'm just going to get it.
Do it. You did it. It's coming.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is I ordered it, I think on day 1 of Spooktacular, and I had like $1 in rewards so far. So I threw in $1 towards the
Oh my
Thor
God.
But it didn't stop there. I also, way back when I ultimately decided to get the Mark 6, and this was I think this was January, February of this year, way before we had the podcast, and I was debating between getting the Mark 4 or the Mark 6 as one of the Iron Mans in my collection. I ultimately went with the 6, but I really wanted the 4, and I was like, you know what? Again, these Iron Man figures, if you don't get them when they first come out, if you miss that opportunity, it's going to get really pricey afterwards. So I had moved some things around with my collection. I did a pre-order for the Mark 4. And as you know, you and I have talked about this for a long time, finally put the pre-order in for the Mark 50. Again, being a huge fan of Infinity War, might be one of the last Iron Man figure new releases that we get, reissues notwithstanding. And obviously I just mentioned with that R2. So, basically four pre-orders that I kind of added after having not any for a while. So my upcoming orders page looks a little bit more healthy on Sideshow now.
Awesome, man. Yeah. You're knocking off the checklist there. It's very nice. I like it. Very, very healthy, like you said.
I know that both you and I have kind of, with some of these upcoming figures, have had the opportunity to, move some things around, change some budget dollars around to move some of these figures we thought we weren't going to see until April, January through April, moving them up to one-time payments. So as soon as they're available, we'll have it. I did that with Infinity War Cap and then also Iron Spider. So hopefully, potentially, say before New Year's, might have both of those in hand. When I didn't think that was going to happen until April, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. Those two, I'm holding off. I still have them on payment plans. So we'll see. We'll see how things go, but I might be converting those. I did, though, convert my Infinity War Thor to one-time payment. I had 2 payments left on Black Panther, so I figured I'll just switch that to a one-time payment, and then I can, maybe have a couple months here before that's available, save some money. But yeah, and not to be outdone, I decided after mulling it over, I didn't think I was going to get this one, but I'm going all in pretty much on the Infinity War figures, and I kept on looking at that Mark 50, and after Spooktacular was over, I had a good chunk of Sideshow rewards. I pre-ordered Mark 50 and used the balance of rewards towards that. So I'm looking forward to that one, just like you. And we'll see. There's a couple other Iron Man figures that I'm thinking about, but we got time on those.
Yeah, I think it's a good transition to kind of talk about Spooktacular 2018. I know we specifically spent about at least 2 episodes in our most recent episode kind of getting everybody prepared. It was, to me, really exciting to see what Sideshow was able to do this year. I know there was some grumbling about people thinking like, oh, there's just $1 codes and, I don't want to lose sleep over this. And thankfully, a lot of people in the community were rightfully able to put these people in their place and just say, listen, just be grateful that they're even giving you anything. I mean, a lot of us do a lot of business with this company, and rightfully so. I mean, they're reputable and their reputation is strong. So obviously we want to be able to support that. And in turn, it's kind of like they gear it towards Halloween, but it's really like kind of their customer appreciation week. And, there was more live streams, there was more contests. this was my second go around with it, and I felt like I was more dialed in, not only because of our community group. We mentioned Tashi Station, mentioned 1/6 Society, and having all those available, and then having Chris, those Facebook Messenger groups to get the codes, and as soon, one of the cool things about even our little community was once somebody found one of that, somebody would post the code out there, and some of the time went pretty quick on those, and a couple people were bummed that they missed a few here and there, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm thankful now that I don't have to check my phone every 2 seconds, Chris. But I think overall it was a success.
I definitely think it was. It was fun. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot more than I anticipated. You had to go on Instagram and Twitter and their website and all sorts of things. It was great, and it wasn't just. It's mainly they really focused on the products that they come out with, that Sideshow produces, but they had contests for older Hot Toys figures. And I mean, I don't know if I didn't see some of the announcements for the winners of those, but they were announcing people as winners for a lot of stuff. And it was great to see, people winning and yeah, it's just fun. I just didn't expect there to be so many contests, and going through and checking off all the list on all the different ways of adding entries and that sort of thing. And I liked it. I mean, I got quite a few rewards points. I think I got $38 in total. I missed a few of the ones that were in the middle of the night or, later in the evening. I had gone to bed. I missed them, but it is what it is. I wasn't too upset. How did you make out?
I think I just looked. I was at 44, and I got all, they did have, I think 3 or 4, and then several on the last, I think they had 3 on the last day that had, they had 3 $5 codes on the last day. I think there was one before that, or maybe did they give out 5? Anyways, I was at 44, give or take, depending on whatever, country you're in, depending there actually were points that, equated to whatever. I mean, obviously we're based in the United States. We're going to talk about US dollars. I ended up at 44. I've seen anywhere varying from, I think one of the high end, I think was 50. I think it may have been 52, maybe as high as 55 was kind of like the max. If like you had hit every single code, you would have been able to do that. But, you just mentioned it with your Iron Man Mark 50. I did the same thing. I was able, all joking aside, throwing $1 at Thor, but I was able to put, $27 towards the Iron Man from Infinity War, which knocked that down under $400. Doesn't stink. And then on the last day, so R2 would have released on October 31st. Then I got like $16 in rewards just on the last day of Spooktacular. I was able to put that towards that figure. I mean, that doesn't stink. I mean, that, and you mentioned with the contests and stuff, I think it's obviously one way. It's there, the contest provider they're using is obviously trying to get a hold of being able to post on your behalf on some of those social media things. So I didn't do those parts of the contest, but anything else that I didn't necessarily have to, allow them to use my Twitter, use them allowed to use my Facebook, use, Instagram and stuff. So I think on any of the contests, I maybe had like maybe 14 to 20 entries, depending. But, the fact that they had these figures available, and then some of them that had been out of production for quite some time. I mean, they had Stealth Cap with Steve Rogers. They had a Winter Soldier. There was a couple other ones that I was like, wow.
Yeah,
there was a Rocket and Groot from
Guardians 1.
And I was just like, wow, that's cool. I'm like, maybe they just found it like propping up a shelf in the back room or something like that. But who cares? I mean, that was pretty cool. So I think overall, I think it was a success, as I mentioned, because I can't say that word. I think if anything, it helped bring a lot of the collecting community and stuff together. I think that's something that everyone can kind of bond over. I think it was kind of humorous, and you'll probably, most of our listeners that were probably in some of these groups, there's very strict rules if you're in the group, like do not post anything other than a code. And you'd see people, putting thumbs up and stuff on a Facebook Messenger. And then you'd see undoubtedly like a minute or two later, one of the admins would come in and like throw them out. I just envision it. It's like the Old West when somebody's like throwing them out the saloon. It's like, nope, no more codes for you.
I know. I think John Martino commented on on one of the threads saying like, you guys don't understand. I see everything that goes on. I get notified every single time there's something for these. And I can only imagine how annoying that would be. But thanks, John, for putting up with all the collectors BS and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was pretty hilarious. People say, please don't. I won't do it again. Please don't take me off the list, and begging for the right to be a part of it. But no, it's good. There was I would say a lot of new collectors joining in this year. Even on our group, guys were saying, yeah, I didn't do this last year. What do I have to watch out for? And that sort of thing. And a lot of people on the other groups saying, I'm new to collecting, but I want to participate. And this might be like a jump start for me. And I would think that it was, very successful for Sideshow, because it just gives people more incentive to buy merchandise from them. That's good for them.
I think our good buddy Mark Pearson had said it best, and Mark wasn't always readily available to be on Facebook. So I would send him a text message with, the codes too. And sometimes he got it, sometimes he didn't, if he didn't have good signal. But I loved his attitude about it, because he's like, Bryan, he's like, I've almost got enough things here that, I've got enough points to basically cover shipping. And I'm like, that is exactly the right attitude about it. It's like, not what I'm getting free out of this. It's like, how can I use this as a positive? So, I think if you got all the codes, I mean, you got shipping covered for, potentially 2 figures. I know they don't let you use the points towards the non-refundable deposit on these, but, if you think about it, it does knock the price down. You're more than able to use it towards, the payment plans that both you and I favor, just because it's easier to budget. And it basically, it drops the average that you pay each month down. I mean, it doesn't suck.
No, by the time I was done with Spooktacular, I had a total of $60 in rewards I had my rewards from Infinity War Black Widow kicked in, and also Deadpool 2. So then I had 38 and 22. I had enough that I felt like it was a good amount to put towards that Mark 50. And then with the non-refundable deposit at like $40, now I owe, when the figure comes out, it's like $300. So, it's a lot less than the retail price, and it doesn't hurt as bad when that one hits the payment. So yeah, no, it's great. I love it. But yeah, like you said, lots of time spent looking at my phone and it buzzing with notifications and that sort of thing. So yeah.
A lot of those times I was in, I was in some meetings and conference calls and WebExes and deep dives and stuff. And I was breaking like all the cardinal rules of like looking at my phone, but I'm just like, screw it. I need this free money.
I need this free dollar.
I need this dollar. I need it badly, but
yeah.
It is what it is. So Chris, I think as already looking forward to Spooktacular 2019. Hopefully we still have the podcast going strong by then, and we will continue to grow our community in the meantime, and hopefully help out new collectors, old collectors. You and I are here to learn from everybody, and then just hopefully our audience also learns through our experiences as well, where we have hits and misses and success. It is time to kind of briefly talk about our feature figure review, as I failed to mention in the intro. So the feature figure this episode is going to be K2SO MMS 406, retailed originally for $229.99. Obviously, this being from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. we have talked at length, Chris, about this Star Wars film, and it continues to rise the ranks of, if I'm gonna pop in one Star Wars movie, it more and more is becoming this film, and it has aged well since 2016. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is K2SO. I mean, he steals the show.
He's a great character. A lot of people, I think, going in were skeptical about this droid, but man, he nailed it. Alan Tudyk with the voice of K2, super sarcastic and didn't let anything sneak by. And I just, the character is great. And this figure looks great too.
So, like I said, this one actually was announced on December 15th, 2016. Also happens to be the day that Rogue One hit theaters. Originally, so it was announced on December 15th, 2016. It shipped August through September 2017. So not quite a year. And obviously this one in hand is just... obviously, it's not as tall as the Hulk, but it barely fits in a DTOF. I kind of have him in a crouching pose so his head doesn't bang up against the top of the glass on that one. I really like this figure quite a bit, and I'm particularly happy that I got it, and I didn't pay that much more than the retail, getting it through eBay and getting it brand new. Now, I will say this is obviously very light on accessories. Came with just the blaster pistol that Jyn gives him on Scarif. And then he has the grenade that he uses on Jedha City when he kind of, I think one of the best scenes in that that film, when he kind of just tosses the grenade behind his head and says, "Are you sure you want me to stay on the ship?" So I just, as somebody that has owned at one point and sold many different versions of this figure, from the Hasbro Black series to the SH Figuarts. Obviously, those are 1/12 scale. This is the 1/6. I mean, this is just impressive. I mean, all the articulation there, all the detail you'd expect from Hot Toys. It is vertically imposing. It towers over everybody like it should. The detailing in deco is just phenomenal. It's weathered. The little touch of color that they gave him on the design around his shoulders, I mean, that just really pops. The one thing, and most of our listeners by this point know I'm kind of risk averse, and I have yet to install the battery. So he kind of looks like he's deactivated at this time because I don't have his eyes lit up. But I think overall it doesn't kill any of the aesthetic of the figure. Articulation wise, it's awesome. I love the fact that the stand, so he kind of has this very different like hips for a droid. And it's funny because, Chris, you're very familiar with the typical Hot Toys stand that doing it kind of actually spools out and kind of makes like a V, so that it rests right in the right between where his legs kind of come in and the joint. And when you're actually looking at it, you can barely even see the stand. You have to really look pretty far because it kind of goes up, and because it's the same color as the figure, you don't really notice it all that well. I think this figure it hits. I think it hits a home run. I think if you are a fan of Rogue One, if you're a fan of K2SO, I think it's definitely, I think it's a must add to your collection.
Yeah, I think, my buddy Justin Rowan, he really, really needs to get one. Yes, Justin, I'm talking to you. You need to get one. So as far as setting this figure up and that sort of thing, I mean, how do you have it? How do you have it posed right now? And who is it with?
Right now, I've got him with Chirrut on one of my shelves, from one of my Star Wars shelves. I have 4 DTOS. I have 2 that are Star Wars, 2 that are Marvel. So he's got a prominent spot. He's the second shelf down on that particular shelf. And, I think he looks great next to Chirrut. I'd love at some point to get that whole team. I do have the Deluxe Jyn, which still to this day is one of my favorite figures in my collection. I'd love to get Baze, Cassian. If they ever do a Bodhi, I mean, just getting that whole team would just be phenomenal. I think as time goes on, I think people will look more fondly, on that group of rebels. And spoiler alert, they don't all make it. But from a collector's standpoint, that doesn't matter. You can still get the figures and enjoy them and have them be, a really good representation of, one of your favorite movies. And I think we say it all the time. You have things in your collection that mean something to you, whether it represents a favorite character, a favorite film, something that, when you look at it, it's not even just because the figure looks cool and everybody thinks it looks great and it's like the figure of the year and you have to have it because somebody else tells you it's great. I think you need to own things in your collection for the right reasons. And when you look at them, you kind of have that just sense of nostalgia, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm looking at more than a figure right now. With the realism that these Hot Toys have, it's almost like having the movie on your shelf.
That's one of the reasons why we collect these things. They really hit home with all those different scenes and parts of the movies that that we love. And like we said before, Rogue One is high on our list. It's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. I love Rogue One. K2, he stole the show, stole the movie, and I think it's a solid figure. I'm glad that you picked it up. I know you had been looking for one for a while, and it would be nice to see those other figures. I don't know. I guess we'll see how things trend as far as the Star Wars figures. They're getting into some of the Empire figures. We might be getting some more of the Jedi figures and obviously the new figures from The Last Jedi. But we've got this long gap. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing, some of these other lines be represented. But Rogue One does have a lot of figures from it, so it might be kind of lower on the totem pole as far as new figure releases. I mean, Hasbro hasn't even released Black Series of Bodhi and some of those other characters like Saw Gerrera, and so it would be tough for Hot Toys to put them out. But there's fans out there that'll buy them, but maybe not in the numbers that they would, say some of the Iron Mans or Darth Vader or something like that. But yeah, let's get them out there.
So also a couple of the other minor points about this, just looking at the Sideshow site, and the 30 points of articulation, like I said, the light up eyes. As I said, it towers. It's about 2 inches taller than most of the other Hot Toys that are out there. It's a little over 14 inches tall. It has some heft to it too. It weighs about 5 pounds. Now, I don't know specifically if there's any like particular things that are die cast in it, or if it's just pretty solidly made. Like you said, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to just sit here and ping every little thing to find out if it's die cast or not, but it's well made too. I think when I initially had saw it, I'm like, oh, I hope there's some heft to it, because, otherwise if it's that tall and that light, it could just, topple over. Obviously have a stand, but no regrets about this one. I don't know, Chris, what are you thinking for a review system on this one? I know you used the Death Star reactors on Scarif for the Shore Trooper. I mean, this is we just recently did another Rogue One character not that long ago. I think this is going to be one of the last ones we'll have drawn back from our collection, because we got so many, both between you and I, have so many new releases and stuff coming up. We'll get through those, and if we get through those, and then we'll kind of go back through our back catalog. But I don't know, what are you thinking for a review system?
Let's see. I don't know. I'm just looking at the pictures here. How about Imperial grenades? I don't know.
Imperial grenades. All right. I would say it's pretty close to being a near perfect figure. I think I really can't say any faults. I mean, I'd probably even give it a higher grade if I had put the batteries in and like I said, didn't have that like deactivated look, but anywhere from 3 3/4 to 4 Imperial grenades, I think on this one is where I'd go with it. So, like you said, you got your buddy Justin, anybody out there that's kind of on the fence about this. I will say, I did look at some recent eBay sales. Obviously, you can't get this on the Sideshow site anymore. It had gone waitlist at some point earlier this year and obviously had sold out. You can still get them on eBay, and you can still get them relatively good prices for a brand new in box. Some of them are used. You just mentioned it. Like some of them, used. the way that we handle these as collectors, you just said you got your Hulk and you're like, it could have passed for new. You can get it. I've seen these figures out here right now for maybe $10 or $20 over retail. And I think this is now the time to kind of jump on it if you do want it. It could get a little bit cheaper in time, but I think for Star Wars collectors and specifically Star Wars Hot Toys collectors, if they like the film, they're going to have this figure in their collection. And I think value is going to hold on this. I don't think this is one that's going to plummet at any time.
Yeah, the Star Wars pricing, it's a lot of them kind of tend to go down in value, but I can see where this one will hold its value, like you said, for sure.
I feel like I've said it in past episodes, thinking we're going to have like this supersized episode. And I think, Chris, this one is definitely going to be one of those on the longer end. This is going to take me quite a bit of time. I'm going to earn my salary of $0 to get this edited and getting it out to our listeners. But it's a labor of love and certainly can make us sound better than we are. Removing all the ums, ahs, I tend to end a lot of sentences with so. Apparently, I can't come up with any finite statements that I want to say, but I think also self-depreciation, humor, I think is a strong point for any individual. You can't take yourself too seriously.
No, and every time I call a figure amazing, take a shot, because that's pretty much
this figure is amazing. Come up with some more adjectives. I know our good friends over at the Toy Run podcast. I know Jake Stevens. They do a great job over there, and I know that they have, every time, I know they all razz on Jake with a lot of the isms that he has, but I think that's all what makes us unique as well. So anyway, speaking of, let's move over, Chris, to plug time. And like I said, a lot of stuff coming up. We mentioned the new website. We're looking for different ways to engage our audience. And I think having the website now and having a point of contact, Facebook isn't for everybody. And that's been kind of one of the things that we've really kind of overemphasized since the last couple of episodes, since implementing it. Having that private community that's available. We do have the public Facebook page now where we're going to be putting out episodes and, reposting content and news and stuff from Hot Toys and Sideshow. So you'll find that there. Looking for just different ways to interact with our listeners. And we're open to any ideas. You can now contact us through the website. There's a contact us page. If you'd rather email us than getting a hold of us through social media, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, though that aforementioned group there, Chris, I know just kind of a couple highlights since our last episode. Our good friend Steven in that group shared his air quotes amazing, just because I had to use your word on that with his
nice
selection. Actually, that's how you put it in the notes too, by the way. And sharing his not, I wouldn't even call it a man cave. This is like a man shrine of just awesomeness between his vintage stuff, his Hot Toys, and just all the cases and the media room and stuff he has set up there. So if you're not in the group, there's some incentive to check that out. And some other stuff, like I mentioned a little bit ago with one of our listeners, PJ, who's the Paradox Nerd on YouTube, and mentioned check out his Thor review, give his channel a follow. Lots of good stuff there. Yeah, apparently not realizing that you're already following some of our listeners out on social media.
Oops. Yeah, I know. One of our listeners, Nick, I was chatting with him and then I was like, oh yeah, are you on Instagram? And he's like, yeah, you follow me on Instagram, Nick the Nerd. And I was like, okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like anything, because we don't think very highly of ourselves, and we're two regular guys like anybody else. We're nothing special just because we're some podcast hosts. And I think it's tough to kind of get caught up, and neither of us are experts in social media, and it's just like, we're just out here doing our thing. If you like what we're doing and you want to join along the journey, those all the different places that you can. Wrapping up our long-winded plug time, you said the website 6scalescavengers.com, Facebook page you can follow. On Twitter, we got 6 Scale Podcast there, 6 Scale Scavengers on Instagram. Chris, you're on Vintage Viewport on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Jedi Scavenger SW. Both of us are running all the social media accounts for all that 6 scale scavenger goodness. Got to mention we're part of the Brick City Blockade Star Wars Podcast Network. We've got our own website now, separate from those guys. We're still part of it. Be happy to be part of the team, and happy to help promote the great positive message they are sharing in the Star Wars galaxy. Again, you're listening to the podcast now, but if you have a friend you think would enjoy our podcast as well, you can let them know we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and on Libsyn at 6scalescavengers.libsyn.com. And Chris, you had mentioned you can now find all those links on our cool website that is just going, and I feel like I just talked very quickly through that plug time.
You certainly did, sir.
Very I feel fast. Like I was one of those Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, we got back on our semi-regular release schedule. Been about 2 weeks since our last episode, Chris, and I think this one a little on the long side, but very full of content goodness.
So much Hot Toys to talk about. Hopefully we get more news and releases in the next couple weeks. I think we'll have potentially a couple more figures in hand by the next time we record. So yeah, everybody check out all those that Bryan just plugged there. Definitely contact us, interact with us, give us ideas. We're open to anything, and we'll see where things go. But yeah, we just love talking about Hot Toys and interacting with all of you listeners.
That is very true, my friends. So, as we always say, may the Force be with you.
Always.